Welcome to the news recap for the week. We're going to take a look at some of the biggest stories or most noteworthy stories for the week, do a quick recap of it. And we're going to begin with this little story about AI. Have you heard about AI? Have you heard the good word about AI? No, because there is no good word. There's nothing good about it. But first story is Rideshare Simulator outlines AI usage after contentious exchange with ex-writer. So this has been a bit of a dust-up. Saber Interactive acknowledges the use of AI in Rideshare Simulator after the CEO lashed out at the game's former writer. After Saber Interactive unveiled its upcoming title, Rideshare Simulator, there's a typo there, someone's getting fired when I am back at work on Monday. Former lead writer Stella Sacco came forward and said that she had been replaced by ChatGPT during development of Saber Interactive's Rideshare Simulator game. CEO Matthew Koch denied Sacco's allegations that she'd been replaced by AI, but the company has now shared previously undisclosed details about Rideshare Simulator's AI usage. Put a pin in that, the denial, put a pin in that. We'll come back to it. Rideshare Simulator cosplay as a driver who can pick up a seemingly infinite number of passengers and interact with them while getting them to their final destinations. According to the new disclosure on the game's Steam page, Rideshare Simulator uses AI tools for voice generation and some localization. Put a pin in that as well. I have something to say about that. And AI-generated passenger missions that can be skipped if players only want human written narrative content. It also adds that the game will have radio stations with human made music and AI generated music, with the latter being labeled in game. However, Saber flatly denies that the main campaign story characters and dialogue are written by Saber flatly states that their main campaign story characters and dialogue are written by a team of human writers. Earlier this week, Sacco said she was replaced as the game's lead writer by AI midway through development. There's a tweet. They took me off the project to use ChatGPT to write the rest of the text, including planned live updates, Sacco told PC Gamer. If they change their plans in the intervening years, that's great. But again, I was there and it was my job to write the game, and then it wasn't once Matt Koch decided using ChatGPT would be great publicity for the game. Koch released a statement of his own on with This Week in Video Games, which if you're not following This Week in Video Games, please go ahead and do it. It is a fantastic source of weekly news, daily news, and features and reviews and that kind of stuff. Headed up by former GameSpot staff member and good friend of mine, Ed Tran, and it's a skill up joint as well, so definitely a great site to check out. That added greater controversy to the story by claiming Stella violated her agreement with the company. Stella who? I have to ask Claude because I have never spoken to her or seen her. All right, I'm just gonna stop reading there because that is dickhead behavior. I am assuming that when this person says I had to ask Claude, it means I had to ask an AI who this person is because I have never spoke to or seen her. How can you undermine your position any more effectively than doing something like that? By saying I used an AI to figure out who this person was because I am too lazy to approach HR in my own company to ask them who this person was that was apparently worked with us and I replaced them. Not doing great. And that's the kind of main through line I have. It is everyone who seems to work in AI and advocate for it in this way is so oblivious to the ways that they are projecting themselves as being compromised and not having the best interest of the consumer or the people, the target audience to hand. The fact that they don't see that, it is like insane. It is like a level of psychosis. Yes. And you can just see it in things that are said in the story. So first things first, let's go back here. The game's theme, Rideshare, uses AI tools for voice generation and some localization. Here's the thing. The skepticism and dislike of AI is to the extent where just because you're saying you're using some localization, that is not a good defense because, and you might not like this, once you say you have any AI, you have done enough to invalidate and undermine your product in the eyes of people who dislike AI, which is a lot of people. Like, I speak for myself when I say this. I don't like AI. I don't like the use of AI, generative AI. There's other forms of AI that are like shortcuts, which I'm like totally cool with, fine. But in situations like this where it's generative AI, I don't like it. The fact that you've said voice generation and some localization is enough for me to dislike this project or come to it with skepticism. There's no small amount of AI usage in a generative sense that I am okay with. The fact that you are using AI is the line in the sand for me. So I don't know why people think that they can say, oh, we use it for some things. We're generating some things. That does not work. Stop doing that. It's stupid. It's a binary thing right now. And I think it will stay that way. You either used it for generation or you didn't. If you used it for generation, I don't care if it was, we used it to generate some leaves. That is enough for people to doubt your truthfulness in the extent at which you have used it or will use it. The game will have radio stations with human-made music and AI-generated music. Another way to undermine the content in the game by pairing it with AI-generated content. The fact that you have said we've got some human content and then some AI generated content and we've got it next to each other, it doesn't make it easy for people to go, oh, I can tell which one's AI. No, that is poison in the well. You paste them together, and by doing that, the AI content has now contaminated, corrupted the human-made content, and it creates an air of suspicion around that stuff. Now, from my perspective, if I play that game and I heard music, knowing that there is AI generated music in the game, I am assuming everything in that game is AI generated. Like, unless you're announcing this is a human made song and then play the song, I'm just going to assume everything in there is AI generated. I'm not going to put my mental energy in unpacking and figuring out what's human music and what isn't. And that's kind of the intent. I think that's one of the most insidious parts of the way AI generated content is used, in the way that it's paired with human generated content. It's almost like trying to hide it in the midst of things that people are okay with. And that is the reason why people have a binary reaction to it. Like, you're not going to get away with sneaking some AI content next to the human content and using the human content as a shield. That people will not buy that. People don't accept that. You are just completely invalidating your entire game. Like, this game, I ain't playing that shit purely because you've said it. It's got AI in it now. I have no interest in that anymore. I actually like the idea of a crazy taxi style simulator game, but I'm not interested in this because you've just admitted that you are not only have generated AI, but you're also kind of trying to get it in sneakily by putting it next to human-made content, which is awful. That's just such a bad and like slimy practice from my perspective. And that's the thing. The other thing that is mentioned here is where is it, about the missions. It also adds that the game will have radio stations with human-made music and AI generated, with the latter being clearly laid. However, Saber flatly states, where's the stuff about missions? AI-generated passenger. It will also have AI-generated passenger missions that can be skipped if players only want human narrative content. How? How are they going to do that? Because if you're saying there's a button that's going to pop up, or like a prompt that's going to pop up to tell me it's AI generated before the mission, I choose to accept it. What is the game that you're making? That sounds awful. Like, that is immersion breaking. If you're asking me to make a moral choice every time I'm undertaking a mission in this game, I don't want nothing to do with your game. And why do you think that's a good idea? At the same time, if these missions are so skippable, why are they in there? Why did you generate them? What is the point of them if they're so insignificant and so invaluable that you can just skip them without any sort of consequence to the experience that you're having? You've basically said, we generated some bullshit and we put it in there, but don't worry, you don't have to smell the bullshit. Why did you put the bullshit in there? You didn't have to put it in there. It is like moronic reasoning that I don't understand one bit. It makes no sense to me. The fact that Sako said that she got replaced, and they seem to be just okay with like just flexing on it. Sako, Stella who? Like that part of it. I don't know also what it is with people who have these kind of like AI, pro AI, also like, you know, some certain political views. People higher up just seem to feel like they can flex it and be like edgy with it, where it's like, have your beliefs, but when you put those beliefs out into the public, don't expect not to get backlash, because that's not how it works. If you felt confident enough to put your belief system or say something like this and put it out there, you have to be ready to accept what comes back. It's not how it works. You can't just say some shit and then shut the door and then act like everything's fine. That's not how it works at all. So the fact that this person was like, I had to use Claude to find out who this person is, that's not making you look good. No one thinks you're cool. The only people that think you're cool are the worst people. Like they are, you deserve those people. Good for you. That's self-selection. That's natural selection for the AI age. And also this part, let me clarify that the entire story script, were to win an award, would go to someone who can walk up on stage and receive it. It was always our intention to reveal this until Stella violated her confidentiality clause. I don't think it was the intention to receive. I think everyone who is using AI right now knows that no one likes it and is trying to sneak it in. Secondly, again, this is another part where it's like, all the good stuff that could be in there was written by humans. So that is the stuff that hopefully people will think as award winning. No one's going to no one's going to apply a filter to it. And if you're the one who's going to flag it every time, I'm sorry, but your game is, I don't want to play a game that is constantly telling me, hey, this is AI created. Do you want to skip it? That sounds awful. At this point, this game, this Rideshare Simulator, doesn't feel like a game created because someone wanted to make it, someone had a vision for it. It feels like a game created because there was an idea, and then it could be used, AI could be used to generate a lot of it and get it done cheap and get it out there. It feels like shovelware. And if you read this story and everything that the CEO says, it just comes off as these people don't care about this game. They just wanted it to exist, and for the sake of existing, and at best because they wanted to use AI. That shit is bogus. And honestly, this is you get what you deserve. Like, I fully anticipate this game is gonna flop, and I don't know if you like Saber Interactive. I don't know how well you're doing. I know Saber Interactive has made some good games, so they're capable of making good games. So if it's that bad where you're just like shitting out half AI, half, bollocks games, like, I don't know, man. Come up with something else. Come up with something else. This ain't gonna help you. This is not your saving grace. What a diabolical story. Like, such the tenacity, the temerity of it. The temerity of it is shameless. And that's one thing with AI people that I really just dislike. There's a shamelessness about it, and it is like it's being forced down everyone's throats in a way that just feels so violating in a lot of ways. It's like they're like, especially at the high level, you look at people like Sam Altman and the Claude people and that kind of stuff, they are just brazen with it. They look around and they're like, yeah, we're ruining the planet. Yeah, that's fine. We're going to have AI here, though. They're not even trying. It's comically evil. And the fact that the world is in a place now where people can be comically, cartoonishly evil and not worry about it, it makes me despair, man. It sucks. Bizarre. It's a brand risk. Yeah. You're right. It's brand poison. AI is brand poison. And there is no way currently, given the temperature of the, people's reaction to it. There's no way to do a sprinkling of AI. You can't garnish your product with AI, because the moment that garnish hits the plate, the whole thing is ruined in everyone's eyes. Like, you just pissed on the meal effectively and called it ketchup. That's not how it works. So don't try and be like, we're the ones who have figured out how to do it in a good way. There is no good way to do it. And until the sentiment on it changes, there's like a sea change in the way people see AI, there isn't going to be a good way of doing it. So it's either you use it and people are going to be like, this sucks ass, you guys suck, we don't want to do it, or you don't use it. Those are your choices. Which one do you want? There's no half in, half out. There's not even like a centimeter in, centimeter out. The moment you have just a little bit, you've poisoned the well. Like, Saber is making a John Wick game, right? I enjoy John Wick. I'm a John Wick enjoyer. I am excited by the idea of a John Wick game. If there is a story tomorrow that says the John Wick game uses generative AI to make its bullets, something small and insignificant, that alone is enough to put me off that game. I don't want to have a moral push and pull internal battle with myself when I'm trying to decide to play a game or not, or while I'm playing in a game. I would rather make it easy on myself, my own mental health, my being, my own moral thermometer, by just being like, I'm not touching this, I'll just avoid it. It's the same reason I haven't played Arc Raiders. I started playing Arc Raiders, AI stuff came out, and I was like, I don't trust this anymore. Like, I don't feel good about playing it. So I stopped playing it. I just didn't want to have to think about, I had that voice in my head being like, is this AI? Is that AI? Is this AI? Is that AI? Even if you put it in bullet punch, I just don't want to think about that. Good luck to you. I hope that John Wick game don't have no AI in it, because that is a surefire. The one thing that can kill John Wick is AI. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm not back. That's what John Wick is going to say in a game with AI in it. Dumbass shit, man. Saber, you're better than this. Next story. Former Uncharted dev on possible... This song is like... It's doing too much. Next story. Former Uncharted dev on possible new remake or remaster. What's the point? Absolutely based. I like that. Naughty Dog should make a new game instead, former developer says. Remakes and remasters are popular, but Benson Russell, a designer on Uncharted Drake's Fortune at Naughty Dog... Oh my god, what is the deal with the music in this? Why is there so many vocal? I don't need singing in the background, all right? Relax. Okay. Remakes and remasters are popular, but Benson Russell, a designer on Uncharted Drake's Fortune and Naughty Dog, has said he's not interested in a new one for the 2007 game. Speaking to FRVR, Russell said he's not against the idea of remakes and remasters generally, but he said Uncharted is still in the zeitgeist and available on modern platforms. What's the point of remastering or remaking it, he said. Instead of a remake or a remaster, Russell said a better idea might be to do what fans have been clamoring for and make a new one. Take the lessons of Uncharted 4 and make a new game, he said. Russell went on to say a remake or remaster of the original Uncharted could feel more like a cash grab than something that people thought was necessary to bring up someone else's game. Multiple people like, Eddie, I'm coming for you tomorrow. What is this? That people thought was necessary to bring it up to modern standards. He would like to see Naughty Dog take the spirit of the franchise and make a new game. 100% on board with that. And I think the important thing that takeaway, the key part of his statement is, for me, is the idea of Uncharted still being in the zeitgeist. I think that's a really important point of distinguishing what is worth making a remake and what isn't. And I'm not saying it shouldn't happen, or I just feel like the value isn't there if a game is still in the zeitgeist. The other one that makes me that this is the exact same thing that I thought of when it came to Ubisoft remastering Black Flag. I'm not against it. I can understand why it was done, but for me, Black Flag is still too much in the zeitgeist Assassin's Creed is still too much in the zeitgeist, and it's too recent for it to feel like a valuable, honest attempt at, bringing back that game for good reason. I think that's what Russell is saying here. It is going to feel like a cash grab. Having said that, I do recognize that Uncharted 1 is also a game that it plays considerably worse than the modern iterations. Even Uncharted, like I remember playing Uncharted 1 and thinking, this is a bit, no, it doesn't feel great. I like what it's going for, but it just didn't feel, the combat felt a bit weird. So they could come back and be like, okay, we remade it in using the modern tech and it plays like Uncharted 4. Enjoy. I could see them doing that. I don't think it's necessary though. I do think that he's right in that they should take what they had and make a new game, because Uncharted 4 is really good. Especially the DLC that came out with Chloe. That one was really, really good. I think it's smarter to take that franchise instead of just retreading old ground, which I'm sure is appealing, could be appealing because it's cost effective and it like gives the development team a foundation to build on instead of starting from scratch. But I think there's more value for Sony in doing something new because it builds excitement around that IP, around the new console. Like if they started the next console cycle, the PlayStation 6, with Uncharted 5, that would be amazing. If it was Uncharted 1 remake for the PlayStation 6, I would be like, yeah, fine, I guess, but I'm not super into that. I don't mind it. There are a few exceptions. For example, PlayStation 5 launched with Demon's Souls Remastered, a game that I enjoyed, I reviewed and said was great. That is one of those games which I would still also say is kind of in the zeitgeist, but also it's a difficult game to play right now. It's a PlayStation 3 game. It's very server oriented and there's not much going on over there. It hasn't had much support, and that is why I feel like I wasn't mad at that remake. That was a game there was a lot of demand for. And it's also why I'm okay with the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Part 2, which is coming out soon. There is a re-release, a remaster, not a remake, of Metal Gear Solid 4. I'm not mad at that because it is close to impossible to play that game easily unless you have a PlayStation 3 and you have the disc or it's on that PlayStation 3's hard drive. And the fact that they got it working on a non-PS3 is important, I think. The value is in their achievement of that. Being able to sell it and have people play it on top is also, I'm sure, very good for them. But in terms of preservation, it's a big deal that that game is out there and playable now, which is why I think it kind of also works as an exception. Next story, The Elder Scrolls 6 might have an 8-letter subtitle. What are we doing here? Like, Elder Scrolls 6 is one of Microsoft's biggest upcoming games, but it remains largely a mystery despite being announced more than 8 years ago. Today, what? 8 years ago? Is this a joke? There's no way this was announced 8 years ago. Is this real? There's no way. When was Elder Scrolls 6 announced? I'm not taking all caps lock off because that is the energy I'm going with. 2018? I'm having a genuine existential crisis right now. That it does not feel like Elder Scrolls was announced 8 years ago. I could have sworn it was 3 years ago. That's crazy. I mean, I think it's because in my mind, the first time it was announced was also the first time we got that logo. I'm right in thinking they announced it with they showed a logo of it or something like that off, right? I'm not going crazy. There's the flyover one. When was that? No, sure, that was 8 years ago. Oh wow, I'm so fucking old, man. Oh my god. I genuinely thought Elder Scrolls 6 was announced 3 years ago with that flyover trailer. Not only was it announced 8 years ago, that trailer was shown 8 years ago. Oh my god. They announced Fallout 76, then teased. I did an interview with Todd Howard about this. I literally interviewed Todd Howard hours after they announced it. I just felt myself, like, I felt my bones start to turn to dust a little bit. Like my muscles like deflated slightly. My hair got thinner. My eyesight got much worse in like minutes. I've had the vigor sucked out of me by a news article on GameSpot.com. Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. I don't even remember what that story was about. The story was, before I got like hilariously derailed by my own aging, the story was people have been trying to figure out what this 8-letter word that could be the name of this Elder Scrolls game is. Most intriguingly, Elder Scrolls 6 Sentinel. That's the name of a city in Hammerfall, a province in the world of the Elder Scrolls, and a top fan theory for where the Elder Scrolls 6 might take place. I'm not mad at Sentinel. It feels more sci-fi than what Elder Scrolls is, though. If you know what I mean. I feel like Elder Scrolls needs to have more a Lord of the Rings style subtitle. Like, it needs to have the word God in it or something like that, you know? Elder Scrolls 6 Raven God or some shit like that, you know? I hope it's something crazy. What other 8-letter words are there? 8-letter words. Yes, the Elder Scrolls Vajazzle! Let's go! Bethesda Game Studios presents the Elder Scrolls 6 Vajazzle. If it's not going to be called Vajazzle, I'm going to be so upset. Twitch, next story. Twitch is now using channels to train generative AI, and the company knows it's unpopular. You know who else knows it's unpopular? Everyone in AI. Everyone in AI knows no one wants it. Do you know why they know that? Because they are being repeatedly told over and over again. The consumers, the customers, the audience that they are trying to appeal to, that their business model relies on, has repeatedly told them they do not want it. It is categorically, unequivocally unpopular. But, as this story will prove, they're gonna do it anyway. Why? Because they wanna make money, and they think that's the way to do it. The Amazon-owned streaming site Twitch is now using channels to train generative AI systems, and the company's top product boss knows it's a controversial piece of news that most people won't like. By default, Twitch channels are now used to train generative AI models across Amazon, and users need to opt out. Opting out isn't enough though, as any chats on a channel that hasn't opted out will still be used for training. You chat right now, all of you in chat, on this platform we're on, we are training a model. I checked and it was not on for me. In fact, it wasn't even an option for me. I'm hoping that it's just like this guy does not want this smoke, and I never get it. During a live stream, Twitch Chief Product Officer Mike Minton said that if the model training was an opt-in basis, no one would do it. No shit! Why do you think that is? Why do you think they wouldn't do it? Could it be because it's not popular? Could it be because they don't want it? We know many of you will opt out. Why is it not opt-in? Let me opt in versus making me opt out. Well, there is an honest answer, and I think most of you can appreciate this. If it was opt-in, nobody would opt in. That's honestly the answer. So it's going to be on by default. Remember when I said people just can be like comically evil these days? This guy, comically evil, maybe even comically stupid. Like, the rules of business don't make sense anymore, where it's like, we need to do things that generates an audience and then appeal to that audience. That's how it used to be, right? Like, you create a product to appeal to an audience and hope that the audience likes the thing and spends money on it. This new era of business model is you make the thing knowing that nobody likes it and then just cram it down people's throats. What is the end goal of this? Like, because it's setting the world on fire, right? Data centers. No one can make a computer because the RAM is all gone and everything is expensive. I bought an SSD because I desperately need it. It was so expensive. 1 terabyte SSD was insanely expensive. What is the benefit to this? What is the benefit to generative AI if no one wants it, it's ruining everything, and you're still doing it? I don't get it, man. I think the thing we're doing here that is unique and different is respecting your wishes to opt out of no. How do you say this? How do you say we know that nobody wants it, so we're not letting you choose, we're not putting it as an opt-in, we're just going to make it on by default, and then follow up by saying, actually, what we're doing that is unique and different is we are respecting your wishes and letting you opt out of this model that you don't want. And we aren't making a big deal about the fact that we are using it to train AI and it's on by default. I know it's very upsetting to the community, but this is where we are. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, how every step of the way can you know that everyone is going to dislike this and then still just do it, and then also be brazen enough to sit in front of a camera and on record acknowledge that you know this thing sucks, nobody likes it, nobody wants it, but you're going to do it anyway and you're going to make it on by default. Make it make sense. I don't understand. Are people just like stupid these days? Like, what possessed this man to do this? Like, even is there no self-preservation anymore? Like, why did you say this? Like, forget the sentiment and like my negative dislike of AI. Why did you even say this? Like, why was that your answer? It would have been smarter to rip the microphone off and run away into the distance. That would have been less damaging than this. Like, if you had literally just ran away and just escaped the interview, that would have been less damaging than this. Unbelievable. Another trustworthy feature by sneaking it in without telling anyone. Anyone who opts out of this feature will still be part of it. It's like they're begging us to not use the service. Please go somewhere else. Please don't use us. If you're the kind of person who doesn't like AI, we are going to make it as compelling to not use Twitch as possible. And the irony of this is I'm getting mad at this on Twitch. I'm actively contributing and I'm actively part of the problem. And that's the worst thing about this modern landscape of AI, whether you like it or not. There's no escape from it. Everything you do is somehow feeding back into AI, and we can't even live by our own moral principles because we're not being allowed to. The world is being constructed or reconstructed in a way where we are just passively going against our own judgment and our own ideals and morals. What a crazy world, man. And the irony is, like, stuff like this, it's like I was saying earlier, where it's so difficult to present good use cases for AI when the bad ones are being forced to us alongside them. Like, I'm not mad at using AI to generate captions. I'm very, very into that.
I don't see any locks connected to your Alexa setup that I
Shut up, Alexa! Who was talking to you? Why does she sound like a normal human now as well? Oh my god. Anyways, welcome to AI. There's no escape, whether you like it or not. Everything you do, everything you love will be poisoned by AI. Get used to it. God of War's Christopher Judge is tired of video game TV adaptations ignoring game creators. The judge has spoken. Gavel strike. These guys have been immersed in this world for 20 years, but someone's gonna know better, question mark? You tell him, Chris. Chris knows, man. The live-action adaptation of God of War is on the way, but the voice of the iconic god killer Kratos, Christopher Judge, has a bone to pick with the people behind game adaptations. The actor explained, He's annoyed that these projects fail to hire anyone from the source material to work on them, as they tend to ignore the talent behind the success of those games. My problem with all the game adaptations is you have this pre-existing successful property, and the first thing you do is not hire anyone associated with it, Judge said during a Fan Expo panel using HBO's The Last of Us as an example. I don't know if that's a good example. Didn't Druckmann work on that? I think Druckmann worked on that. At least the first season, I believe. So, I don't know. I get what you're going for, though, Chris. I understand, Chris. I know what you mean. I saw a stage reading they did. It was unreal. I have no idea why you don't just take that cast, those writers, especially when you're going to do episodes that are shot-for-shot remakes of the game. The voice actors of The Last of Us have often been praised for elevating the story with their performance, and it's not too much of a stretch to imagine Baker playing the live-action version of Joel Miller. Troy Baker was in that show, right? I believe. Was he in season 1? He did I think he was in one or two of the episodes when they go back to that little encampment. Of course, it's not that easy, as you have various factors to consider, like availability for a shoot and contract negotiations, as well as the fact that Pedro Pascal is a bigger star in comparison to Baker. Pascal is a household name who can draw audience to watch the series based on recognition factor alone. Baker did appear in the series, making a cameo as a villain named James. First things first, I agree in a large part. I don't know if I agree in trying to translate or carry over the cast from a game, from the game version of it, whether that's voice acting or performance capture, into a live action adaptation. It doesn't always, it's not easy to translate that. Like, I don't think Troy Baker translating, I think Troy could do a great Joel, for example, but I don't think necessarily it's an easy transition, if you know what I mean. It's not default. It's not a given that it would work. And like, sometimes it's just, you want to kind of approach it from a different angle. This sounds like I'm saying don't do it. I think the point is more salient when you apply it to everything else that isn't the performance. I think there is opportunities there, but I don't think it's as cut and dry when it comes to performance. I think it's definitely way easier and more cut and dry to just use that talent who worked on the game to do some of the work, if not all of it, or at least provide input into a TV or a movie version of it. I think it makes way too much sense, and I agree. It's one of those things that baffles me why it doesn't happen more. I'm sure there's also like business and production considerations in the back end, like unionization, unions, and how they're represented and how unions work in video games, which I believe are not as prolific, and unions in video games are more of a thing, have become more of a thing recently, whereas unionization, unions, and representation in Hollywood or TV medium, movie medium is a little more entrenched, and they have more systems in place. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some element of that creating barriers that makes it tricky to just jump over the fence from one medium into the other. Having said that, I think it's worth doing the legwork and jumping through the hurdles to make sure that you're able to get the talent from the game that had a meaningful and perceptible contribution to making that game a success to this adaptation. It makes perfect sense to bring in the writers of Uncharted to work on Uncharted the movie. It makes perfect sense to bring in the writers of God of War to work on the God of War TV show. I don't know why they don't do it. I think there should be some sort of pipeline. And I also feel like some of it also probably comes from ego. Like, I'm sure there's a whole different, and I'm not painting with a broad brush here, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some element of like, not skepticism, arrogance, or even like looking down on another medium, I wouldn't be surprised if we learned like, oh, people don't do it because they think that video game writing isn't as good as movie TV writing, because a lot of people in those mediums, they don't keep up with video games in the same way that we do, or some people, you know, in that space do. A lot of people probably assume that the image that they have created at one point in the past of video games is still what video games are. There's been so many interviews where, you know, the classic one where it's like a celebrity gets asked what their favorite video game is when they're attached to a video game project like an adaptation, and they go, "Oh, I love video games. I'm a huge gamer. The amount of hours I've playing Pong is significant." And you're like, this motherfucker still thinks that video games are Pong. That kind of shit. I think you can extrapolate that to like other elements of the game, where I imagine there's probably a bunch of people who are in decision-making positions in Hollywood and other, you know, production capacity that probably think that video game writing is still the video game writing of Mario or something like that. They're not up to date. And I've also seen interviews of people, like there are celebrities who will be talking about video games with surprise, in that, like, you know, oh, I played this game, or I saw someone playing this game, and oh my God, they've come a long way. Like their writing is incredible. I think in this day and age, the generation of actors and people in production has shifted to be more in lockstep with people who grew up playing games. And I think that's going to change over time. I think that Christopher Judge, who he's talking about here, are people who don't have that level of familiarity that someone like for example, Jacksepticeye has with Bloodborne. Like, that makes sense to me because Jacksepticeye is a noted Bloodborne fan. And I'm glad that he's involved in the project because I know that Jacksepticeye understands Bloodborne and I feel good about it. It's like, you know, I would love for them to have Miyazaki involved. I would prefer that, but it seems like there are things preventing that from happening, whether that's From side or, you know, Sony side, who knows? Miyazaki also is the kind of person who might just be like, I'm not interested in this. You guys take care of it. But barring that, having someone who has extensive knowledge in that would make sense, you know? Like, you might not need to use Cory Barlog. You might not want to or can't or need to use Cory Barlog to make the TV show. But at the very least, you should go to the people who built that world with Cory or with the various members of Sony Santa Monica and have them available to you to use the material that exists and have them kind of like check everything that you're doing. Because I would be so worried about like not doing it right, if you know what I mean, that I would want to have that safety net. So maybe there is, I think that's going to change over time. Like, for example, I was going to say that Street Fighter movie. Every time I see a trailer for that Street Fighter movie, I'm like, this is going to be fucking hot trash. And maybe that's the point. But I think a live action Street Fighter movie is always going to be bad. Like, it just fundamentally does not work. In the same way that I think most live action adaptations of anime are always going to be not good to a degree. Like, I know that everyone loves the One Piece live action. I cannot watch it. Every time I watch it, it feels wrong. It feels awkward. It feels like weird. A perfect adaptation like the OG Resident Evil movies. Sure, let's say yes, Omega Buster. Let's say yes. Just because I don't want to beef. I don't think there's a single live action adaptation of a video game or a video game or an anime or a cartoon that I've thought that was great. I enjoyed that. I can't think of a single one. And for stuff like, the best you can get that I've seen is, like I said, Street Fighter looks corny and it makes me cringe every time I see it. At the same time, they are embracing the vibe of Street Fighter, the mood of Street Fighter, in a way that I can step back and respect and be like, okay, this is not going to be for me probably, but at least they are trying to recreate some element of it. And that might make it easier for people to digest. But in the future, I think there's going to be way more of a relationship between games, people who make games, and the people who make the adaptations going forward. You already start to see it happening, but it's happening in like the people who are already in positions of power and influence in Hollywood are able to, they also happen to be fans of something and they are leading the charge. And that's how you make it work in this day and age currently. With, for example, Alex Garland is making the Elden Ring movie because Alex Garland loves Elden Ring and has hundreds and hundreds of hours playing that game and understands it likely and saw something in it. And so he championed it. And I believe the story is like he wrote a script and went to Japan and pitched the movie himself to From Software. And that is why they were like, good job, go for it. So I think that's going to happen more and more going forward. It's a rarity now, but I do believe it's going to happen. But the core sentiment that Christopher Judge is expressing here is on point, I think. That was the news of the week.